listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants with hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, and Ben Lee.
Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball history, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. It's episode number 29. It is May the 6th. This is the Hector Sanchez episode, which is actually very appropriate, as Chad King just pointed out, because we won today on a walk-off by Hector Sanchez, who didn't actually get the start. That was a pinch hit knock, and it was fantastic. My name is Willie Dills. I'm joined by Chad King, the aforementioned Chad King. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks. I think my hamate bone's kind of sore after playing today. I might have to get that looked at.
You should probably just get them. You should get both of them taken out.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing both at the same time,
Just as a precautionary measure, I'll
just drink with a straw, and there we go.
What do you know? What does the hamate bone even do? It seems like you don't actually need them anymore.
I think it's like the appendix of the hand, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Because... yeah, it's definitely not necessary, and now he's getting the second one removed, almost to the date, a full year. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
In fact, the San Jose Merc was commenting that they published their article last year on the other hamate bone on May 3rd, and they did this year on May 3rd as well. So,
yeah,
kind of funny.
If you don't know what we're talking about the hamate bone, Pablo Sandoval is again out for 4 to 6 weeks is the prognosis. Last year, he had the hamate bone removed on his right hand, which is his throwing hand, so it was a little bit more serious. This time, it's the left hand, which means he could probably come back a little earlier because he doesn't have to throw with it, obviously. But also, he can hit from the left side exclusively, and it's not going to be his leading hand. So that's actually also considered to be a reason why this might be a little bit better. He might be able to come back a little bit earlier this time. But it's a big blow to our already weak offense to lose Pablo Sandoval. And, we talked last week about how our offense is improved, but once you take Sandoval out of the mix, Pablo, who's hitting over 300, hitting for power, seeming to, lay off bad pitches more than he ever has before, he's a much improved Pablo. Losing him out of the lineup suddenly shifts things around in a way that really makes it look difficult for us to compete until we get him back. So, right now we're going to see a lot of Connor Gillespie, and he's been playing okay, and he's a pretty decent fielding third baseman, and he's shown a little bit of ability, hitting. Did he get a double today?
He had a double today. He's a line drive hitter. He's definitely not going to replace the power that Panda provides. Well, that was a lot of P's there. But the Giants don't expect anything more. They're just wanting him to kind of, hold the course, stay the course, just play good defense, although he had a little hiccup today, which almost cost the Giants the game. Certainly cost Matt Cain a win, but we digress from that.
Yeah. Well, he basically, the idea now is we need to tread water until we get him back.
Exactly.
So we need to, when Pablo gets back, we need to be around where we are now as far as how many games out of first we are. If we can stay 3 to 4 games out, which we've actually dropped to like 5.5 or something like that. But today the Dodgers lost, the Giants won, so that's good. But
it's back at 4 now.
Yeah, so as long as we can stay somewhere around there, and he does come back within a month or so, I think we'll be happy with the situation. But obviously, losing Pablo is a massive blow to this offense. It does a couple things though. What I've noticed is that it moves Melky into the third spot, which means that our second spot is a little bit up for grabs. I know Terrio's gotten some starts in the second hole. I heard them talk today on the game about how Brandon Belt would be a pretty good two-hitter, and I agree with that because he does have patience. He can get on base, so if you do get your leadoff hitter on or you don't, you have somebody with a decent chance to actually get on base for the pop. But also, it just kind of moves Melky into that third spot. And then you start to think, well, now who's our 5 hitter? Because now you've kind of moved everybody around. I almost feel like in the ideal world, if Brandon Belt was hitting the way we think he can and getting on base the way we think he can, he would make an ideal 2-hitter, and I think Cabrera would be a fantastic 5-hitter behind Posey.
Yeah, it was interesting today. Pagan was batting 5, which I'm not sure if I completely agreed with, but he did extend his hitting streak with a couple more hits today. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the lineup you just suggested there is going to be a little bit more optimal than what they rolled out today.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just deal with it the best way you can. But the fact is we really need Pablo's bat if we're going to make a run at this thing. So
there's one good bit of good news about this is that he can't break another hamate bone next year.
That's true. Yeah, next year it's not going to happen. No more hamate bones. Hopefully he doesn't find something else to mess up. But another thing that happened today, by the way, before we get into some of the actual Giants-related stuff, is that Willie Mays turned 81. So happy birthday, Willie Mays. And looking great. Looking great. Giants picked up a win in his honor, and that was really cool. So glad to see that happened. Let's see if we can add Ben into the conversation here.
I am here.
Oh, there he is.
Lost the wide...
There he is. Welcome to the show, Ben Lee. Ben, real briefly, while I answer this phone call, will you tell us about your trip to New York?
Just sneak it in there while you're talking about something else. That's the amount of time that we usually devote to thinking about New York, right? When we're on this podcast. So, the trip itself was awesome. This was my first time visiting New York, so I've never actually, even been to an East Coast city that wasn't DC or in Canada before. It's been a while since I've been out there, so it was really nice, other than the fact that the weather felt like home. It rained, it was foggy, it was cold, and then it was strangely sunny on the last day, but still not as sunny as you thought it was, which I was like, well, it's like I never really left. They just moved some buildings around and kept me in the same place. Besides that, though, it was awesome. I spent a lot of time on baseball. I'm really hoping to try and get some stories up and about the trip, maybe even on the website, do a couple of blogs about some of the different parks that I got to see, some of the different games I saw. I made it out to Citi Field, Yankee Stadium, the waterfront park of the Trenton Thunder, which is the Double-A team for the Yankees, where Andy Pettitte was actually making his re-debut, and also to Citizens Bank Park. So I got to see a bunch of baseball stadiums. I got to meet a bunch of people. I'm really hoping to get some of those stories up on the website at some point soon and post some of the photos and talk about some of my experiences. But there was also a lot of Giants baseball to be seen out there, which was cool, pretty awesome. Getting to see it both with fans at Finnerty's and also at the actual games for the Giants and Mets. So
there was a bunch of Giants fans at those games, and
they really were.
Were you in that section with all the fans? Did you make it over there?
For the very last game, I was. I wasn't for the first 3, but then for the last game of the doubleheader, it was absolutely freezing, and there was no way in hell that I was going to sit over where my seats were on the upper deck. So I was wandering around on my, I think, 3rd or 4th hot chocolate of the day, trying to stay warm somehow. And I'm passing by the section where everybody from the game buses from Finnerty's had actually rolled up. And one of the guys standing outside looks at me and goes, "Hey, are you with the Giants section?" I was like, "Oh, no." But
with the Giants section, yeah.
He sort of looks for a second and he's like, "Would you like to be?" Because as it turned out, this was Dieter, one of the co-owners of Finnerty's, and he actually had a bunch of extra tickets for their section because of the one game had been rained out, and so the Mets had given them some extra tickets and some other things. So he just pretty much handed me a ticket for their section so that I could walk into lower box without having anybody, "Hey, you have to sneak around me," or so, which was awesome of him. I was already at the game. I'd paid for a ticket, but he gave me one of the other tickets for the lower box section so I could get in there. And, that's pretty much what I did. I didn't sit down the whole second game because if I did, I probably lost something in my feet. But it was awesome. I have a couple of videos of just realizing that you're inside the Mets stadium and looking around and realizing the entire section is cheering for the Giants at the top of their lungs. There's something it's possibly one of my most awesome outside of AT&T park experiences ever.
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
Sounds real cool, man. And yeah, we'll look forward to getting some news up on the site for everybody at torturecast.com about that. Let's go ahead and let's get into what's going on with the Giants. We already talked about Panda and his hamate bone issues, but let's talk about the Giants' defense, because this has been a really big thorn in Bruce Bochy's side this year. Is the massive amount of errors that the Giants have racked up already. 30 errors, last in the major leagues right now, and I think I mentioned it on last week's show that it's kind of what you'd expect considering how much movement guys have had as far as where they're playing in the field, and a lot of people playing out of position. We do have a lot of guys who are very good at what they do. I mean, Pagan's a fantastic center fielder. Melky Cabrera shines at either end of the outfield. And,
I don't know whether or not I fully agree on Pagan yet, and that's something that I'm starting to get a little questionable about.
Really?
Yeah, because I actually feel that Pagan as a center fielder, he is fast, but I don't feel like he has Andres Torres' knack for being able to read balls off the bat and being able to run the offense or run the defense as a center fielder. Because I feel like one thing that's happening is Pagan is having a lot of issues communicating with his other fielders out there. It's causing him to periodically miss balls that he as a center fielder should be taking control of, or essentially relinquishing for guys, and so you end up with a lot of like, whoops, that split the gap, and it really shouldn't have.
Yeah, no, I can see that. There was a couple. There's actually one ball I can remember distinctly that fell in between him and Cabrera, where basically he did not do what a center fielder is supposed to do and just take charge on the play. Yep. But he does have the speed, and he has played the position for a long time, and I feel like he's got the ability out there to at least come close to what we got used to with Torres. Obviously not, Torres was his real ability out there was to get a good first jump and to basically he ran full out for every single ball out there, and that's just how Torres played the game.
Right.
But I feel like Pagan is not it's not like we're going out there and we're just like,
we're not completely downgrading,
yeah.
no. But I mean, I'm not convinced that Pagan is like this standout defensive center fielder that I think a lot of us thought we were going to be getting when we started the season off. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like his shortcomings begin to show because we need that defense so desperately. I feel like I wouldn't notice it the same way if things like today's slip, where he sort of took this odd curving path to get to the ball, had come up. It was things like that where you're seeing a couple of misplays and you're noticing them more because, one, our pitchers tend to need it, especially guys like Kane, who fortunately didn't really need it today, to be honest. It was ridiculously lights out. And two, because we're so used to seeing such killer outfield defense from Torres, and that we know in the back of our heads that's who we traded for Pagan, so we're equating him. Essentially.
Yeah, well, so. I mean, the essential theme here, of course, the defense being the worst in the major league so far. The Giants, we all know, play tight baseball. They win and lose a lot of one-run games, and this defense has specifically cost them a couple of games this week against the Marlins, where they got swept each one by 1 run, and a couple more games throughout the season. I mean, I can directly attribute errors to about 5 losses already this year. And it's not that those wouldn't have occurred in a normal season. Maybe 3 of those games, errors would have occurred. Still, the point is, if this is going to go down to the wire, if they're going to be in the hunt for even the second wild card with, say, 90 wins or whatever, I mean, 4 or 5 games cost, via an error. I mean, it's huge. They got to solidify this. And, Crawford is a huge crux of the problem. He's supposed to be Mr. Wizard, and I don't know if it's a mental thing or what, but he's already committed 7 errors this year.
Yeah, he's also
7 out of their 30. I mean, that's pretty high.
He's also apparently had some type of an issue with, I don't think it's his throwing hand. I think it's his glove hand. But apparently he's not been totally healthy there, but I don't think it's an excuse for the number of errors he's had. I feel like it's kind of maybe a little bit of the pressure of being the starting shortstop and knowing that that's your job, and feeling like maybe he has to do what he's there for, and that I think is maybe contributing a little bit. He's still a very young guy, and we know how good he is, we know how good he can be. He's just not being that good right now. And obviously, we can't really afford to have him not do what he's supposed to do on defense when his bat is, Brandon Crawford's bat.
Right.
So he's a little important.
Yeah, it's a little important. But my point really is that when you have Brett Pill playing left field, and when you have Arias moving from second to short to third, We've had a game where Aubrey Huff had to play second base. We've had a lot of guys playing out of position this entire year. And I feel
we
like
had Brett Pill everywhere except at first base half the time.
Yeah, exactly. And he's, I'm sure he can be, serviceable, but it's going to contribute to a lack of defensive. He's not going to make spectacular plays in any of these positions. And when he runs the ball down, I'm almost surprised sometimes. But it's, when you're putting guys out of position, you can't really expect to be a good defensive team. So I feel like the Giants, as much as it's great to be able to have the flexibility, I feel like you kind of need to figure out exactly where these guys can play, really, and just kind of stick to that. And if it means that we don't have room for all these first basemen, we just might have to suck that up, And they've been talking about, when Aubrey comes back, we're going to have a shot to the arm. I don't know if we will, because again, he'll be playing in the outfield. He'll be, we'll be moving Pill into the outfield to put him at first base. We'll be doing all these weird things, trying to get Hector Sanchez and Buster Posey in the lineup on the same day. That moves people out of their comfort zones. And right now, nobody really looks comfortable playing in the field. And it's, again, like you said, Chad, we need to win by one run. We need to be able to scratch and claw and get that one run that the other team doesn't get. And I feel like every time I turn a game on, if I come in like the third or fourth inning, the Giants have an error already. It's almost like a guarantee that by the third or fourth inning, there's an error on the Giants somewhere.
And today they played error-free ball all the way up until
the way till the ninth inning.
All the way until the ninth inning.
There were 26 outs, and then they decided, you know what, we're going to.
And then Pagan was like, wait, Matt Cain was on the mound today. Hold on, I got to screw up.
We cannot win this game for Matt Cain, you guys. Come on now. But no, I mean, it's definitely something that the
Otherwise,
Giants,
it's not still a storyline by July.
The Giants are going to have to address this. They really are going to have to address this, and I'm not exactly sure what that's going to mean. I mean, it's hard for me to say, okay, Pill needs to go down, or we need to find somebody else to come in and do some. We need some more flexibility on the middle infield. It's hard for me to say those things because I know that those aren't really options right now. But I feel like at some point it's going to get to a place where if we're still last in defense, come late July, it's not going to be good, and the Giants are not going to be contending if that's the case. So something's got to be done. I mean, obviously, if Freddie Sanchez can come back and actually stick in the lineup, that'll be great.
Actually be able to throw.
Yeah, because
that seems to be the big concern right now.
That'll move people into their more proper positions, I think, and take some of the pressure off some of these guys.
And it'll also remove our amount of seeing Ryan Theriot in the lineup, which is really, really starting to grate on me personally. I hate to call anybody out specifically, but I've been at 3 different games where I've watched Ryan Theriot get into a high leverage, high profile situation and.
Well, it was funny. We talked about on this show that Theriot was the starting second baseman on the World Series team, World Series champion team. But I was watching some footage today because I'm doing a piece about Fairweather Fans, so I was going back and watching some old footage. And then, of course, I ended up going back and watching some 2010 Giants World Series stuff just because I couldn't help myself.
That's part of the research.
Yeah, but that argument...
Because it happened to be there, Gee, I'm sure I can use this somehow.
That argument of he was the starter on the World Series championship team was also said about Aubrey Huff, and then it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. And every time Theriot comes up these days, I just feel like if he does make contact, it's going to be a bloop single. That's really all we can expect out of him right now.
Which is pretty much what he did today, too. Yeah.
And it's not going to happen often enough to justify his spot in the lineup as continuing
really
on
isn't.
if he can't pull it together. So
this whole thing about Theriot being our right-handed bat for second base, I don't buy it. Burris is a switch hitter, and Arias is able to fill second pretty competently when he needs to, and he's certainly hitting better than Theriot has been. And the problem is, like, all 3 games that I feel like I've seen recently have involved Theriot being our last chance. You get into the 9th inning with 2 outs, and it's Ryan Theriot, and I'm like, well, I'm in the parking lot.
Yeah. I mean, look, we talked on the season opening show about, who should play at second base, and the consensus really was that it should be Theriot because he's got more of I guess you could say, a history of playing there, and Burris is, been with the Giants organization for 6 years, never really stuck at the big league level. But my argument for him was really just speed, and there was a couple of times today where a lot of the stuff I've said about speed really came to the forefront. Pagan hitting into a double play, but that wasn't a double play because of how fast he was.
Because he beat it out,
and
right?
Then
and that scored a run.
An RBI.
Right.
Like, these are the types of situations where speed changes the game without you actually having to do anything necessarily spectacular. It's just being able to not get doubled up. That's a huge thing. And a guy like Burris brings
spectacular
that.
in defense, by the way, did anybody notice Melky Cabrera's awesome double play?
Oh, that was fantastic.
Right near the end of the game.
I love
stuff
how
like
Niger
that,
Morgan, by the way, before can I just say that Niger Morgan catches a ball slicing away from him, and then all the way to the dugout is just giving it to the Giants fans, all the way to the dugout. And then the very next inning, Cabrera does that, and what is he makes one little gesture to the fans and goes back to his position. It's a totally
awesome
different
gesture.
attitude. It was. But I feel like Niger, you're hitting under 200, dude. Bring it down a notch, Come on, buddy. Like, it's not time to showboat when you're batting $180. It's just
the problem is that you don't hit well enough for us to bother plunking you, because that's just going to put you. That's the only way you can get on base at this point. So
yeah, it was funny.
What if we hit you? What are we gaining?
It was funny how Kruko and Kuiper last year when he did that talked about it for like the next 3 innings, and this year when he did it, didn't even bring it up. They showed the replay and they almost didn't say a word about it, because at this point we're just like, that's just what he's going to do. Like,
that's just what he's going to do. Let's not give him any more airtime.
Yeah, he's just a jackass. All right, that's just what he's going to do.
His gimmick is old already.
Yeah. So, okay. I think we're all in agreement. The defense sucks. Chad, do you have any ideas? What can we do about it? Is there something Bochy's not doing that we can do to
have him run
this?
more laps? I'm not really sure. At this point, they have a lot of interchangeable parts, but they're all making errors.
Bigger gloves.
So
bigger gloves.
Yeah, a little pine tar in the glove or something. I'm not really sure. I don't know if they're going to have to bring in a psychologist at this point to sit down with a couple of them and say, hey, this is, don't get too far in your head, Yeah.
It really does look like a mental thing to me, because these are not like some of these errors. I think so. They gave Connor Gillespie an error on basically a hot shot to third base today, right?
Yeah.
That's a rough error, But the fact is like that's a ball that he can catch. But I do feel like that's not physically a physical error necessarily. I think it's just the guys aren't they're not feeling comfortable. They're not buckling down. They're just not playing baseball freely right now or something. They all seem a little tight, and they all seem a little tight at the plate as well when it's guys are on and you got runners in scoring position, and that's when they're tightening up, and they're tightening up in the field as well.
Well, and there's a couple of things that I've noticed too, like Crawford and Burris. I've seen them make this kind of, it's not an actual error in the stat, in the box score, but it's a double play ball that is not a double play ball because of a bobble or a transition exchange problem or something like that. So it's an out at second, safe at first. That runner comes around and scores or whatever later in the inning. So it's an earned run. It's not an error and all that, but clearly it should have been a double play and haven't gotten out of the inning. So when you look at those 30 errors, you could probably tack on a couple of more with those should have been double play balls.
Defensive miscues,
that's just, those are just those opportunities that they're blowing way more often than I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, but we're also seeing some spectacular play. I mean, you talked about the Cabrera throw today, and Cabrera's made a couple of really great throws so far this year, and we've also had some pretty spectacular double plays. And another thing too, the Giants aren't throwing runners out who are stealing either. We're pretty low in that regard as well. But I also know that Sanchez and Posey have both made fantastic throws this year. So, I mean, there's flashes, and we know that they have the capability to do this. I just feel like they need to get to that freewheeling style of ball where they're all just out there having a good time. No one's feeling tight, and everyone's just kind of, going about their business and playing baseball. Right now, they just, they haven't really clicked at all so far this year. And, last week we were 12-10. And since then, we've fallen off pretty badly. So it's just the entire team right now is just they're not gelling yet. And obviously injuries have something to do with that. But the fact is our team is not put together where this guy plays here, this guy plays here, this guy plays here, and everyone knows what they do. And they go out every day and they just play baseball. Right now it's like, where am I hitting today? I don't know. Oh, I'm on a 19-game winning streak and I just got moved to 5th. Okay. It's very strange. Going to a ballpark and not knowing exactly where you're going to hit, not knowing exactly where you're going to play every day, and it's not conducive, I think, to that freewheeling style of ball that the Giants played in 2010. So, we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on this, obviously. I mean, this is, with the type of team the Giants said, as Chad mentioned, we really can't be this way. So let's talk about the last week. We ended up going 2 for 4 on the week. So 4 for 5 on the 9-game homestand, which everyone was looking at thinking, okay, I mean, we're playing the Marlins, who are supposed to be a good team, but they're struggling.
Padres.
We're playing the Padres, who we should beat pretty easily, and we're playing the Brewers, who lost Prince Fielder and have weak hitting, at least early in the season, Aramis Ramirez batting fourth. We know he's a good hitter, but he starts slow every year, and he started especially slow this year. So it looked like, maybe a 9-game homestand, we could maybe take 6 games or so and kind of get healthy. And that just did not happen. The Marlins came in, and we just did not look good. They didn't look great. We just looked bad. We did not look good, like a good baseball team.
Managed to look worse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I know the Marlins are not a bad team. And I don't think at the end of the year the Marlins are going to be completely out of it. But we need to capitalize on a team that's playing bad now,
Yeah, they had lost 8 out of 9 coming in. So you thought, okay, we're going to be able to take 2 out of 3. But, we were the team that they got healthy against.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens to teams. You go in streaks, and the streak ended with us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those. It's just one of those weeks where you just kind of want to forget it. But obviously, we're not going to let you guys. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, it was just every game they could have won. That's what was so frustrating about it. I mean, they were not blown out. They weren't manhandled in every game. I mean, it's just one of those things where, a ball bouncing this way or that way, or an extra out here or there, and they would have taken 2 out of 3. So
yeah, and thank God we took the last 2 against the Brewers because, we don't take today's game or we don't take yesterday's game. And it looks real bad. And we
3-6 looks a lot more bleak than even 4-5 isn't great, but 3-6 looks real bleak when you're trying to get through a homestand.
It absolutely does. And we actually could have won the game on Friday against the Brewers as well. We scratched and clawed and got back into that game, and then immediately gave up 2 more runs. So, but it was another game where we could have won. And look, we're used to this as Giants fans, right? 1-2, losing 1-2, losing 2-3, losing 2-3 again. We're used to this, but we're also used to the Giants being able to win those games when it's 2-1, 3-2,
or close them out, which isn't happening on a regular basis. We're giving up we barely had a lead almost the entire homestand, and when we did, half the time we'd end up just handing it right back. Like you were saying, we managed to claw our way back to a tie, even from being behind, and then just sort of the next inning rolls around, and it's like, hey, have 2 more runs, Brewers.
Yeah. Well,
Merry Christmas.
Let's real quick. Let's talk about Affeldt, because that is one of the reasons that we've lost some leads before we got to the 9th inning, and he just hurt himself picking up his son, which was it 2 years ago that he hurt himself cutting open or
it was separating frozen hamburgers.
Separating hamburgers.
Frozen hamburgers.
Yeah. So he seems to have pretty poor luck, or he's a very clumsy person. But so I don't know if this is necessarily a negative right now. Maybe he'll go and he'll rehab and he'll get back, and maybe he'll come back with a different attitude or something. But right now, like him, Moda, like these guys are not having great outings, and we haven't really seen guys like Romo or Lopez struggle. We've seen the other guys. We've seen the middle of the pack guys.
Really Romo is still a little bit homer prone, but besides that, he's been brilliant.
Yeah, I mean his ERA is still fantastic, and he still looks good. And today he pitched really great.
Today he
owned him today.
You could write epic Viking poetry about his slider today.
But the fact is we need to get through those 6th and 7th innings when the pitchers, because we have pitchers who even when they struggle can still keep us in ball games. Like Lincecum has had a couple games where he struggled but still kept us in the game. But the problem is he has to leave in the 5th inning, and in the National League you'll have to leave games a lot earlier because you got to get pinch hit for and things like that.
Yeah.
So we need those guys.
Been like that on and off as well. He's definitely he's often not a 5 and dive guy, but when he gets into trouble and racks up a pitch count early, you're probably seeing him come out in the 5th, maybe 6th inning.
Which means we're gonna need Moda. We're gonna need Affeldt. We're gonna need these guys who come in earlier. Guys like Hensley have looked fairly good, but we've also had some struggles out of those guys as well. So, it's when you have these issues and then you have inconsistency out of the middle of your bullpen. It's not going to add up to a lot of victories. So
yeah, and the Giants pitching staff overall has definitely been improving. They're actually third in the National League in ERA right now. So I mean, they're performing quite well after those first 3 games. You got to say that it's not a bad turnaround, and I would attribute most of that. Those earned runs to the starting pitching.
Yeah,
a couple of them, in mind. We were talking about Kane and how he's always kind of the hard luck loser or hard luck no decision. This year, Lincecum seems to be the exact opposite. He's given up quite a few runs, and then he gets pulled off the hook.
It's true.
It's pretty funny. So I mean, his record could be much worse than it really is right now. He's still sporting that high 5 ERA though.
But he's always prone to the big first inning, and then he seems to kind of like tamp it back down and have a really nice rest of the outing when you don't expect him to either.
And the last few starts have been better, but last start wasn't very good. It's not even the hits. I mean, it's just the walks.
Yeah,
he is just all over the board.
Yeah, he basically had no control that entire game until maybe the last 2 innings he pitched. And they were talking about, I was listening to it on the radio, they were talking about how Posey was putting the glove right in the middle of the strike zone, and he couldn't hit it. And like it got to the point where Posey was saying, well, look, we're not even going for corners anymore. And this is what happened last year, I think it was, when Lincecum lost his mechanics and basically just couldn't throw a ball where he was trying to ever for about a month or so. And that's kind of where he's at right now, where he just does not have the command of anything. And I don't know what the cure is, but he is getting bailed out. 2-2 with 5.68 ERA, and then you got Matt Cain, who's 1-2 with a 2.38. So go figure. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. What we can say though is Bumgarner is not getting any bad luck these days, and nothing is bouncing in the wrong direction for that guy. 5-1 already. Let's predict right here, Ben. How many wins do you think Bumgarner is going to finish with? The end
Bumgarner?
Yeah.
Oof. Well, I gotta say, 2022.
Yeah, you think so? Awesome.
I see Bumgarner being, and this is something that we joked about as like a sleeper pick earlier in the year, but I really see Bumgarner pushing for the Cy Young for the NL. I mean, he's been brilliant. He's been sturdy so far, knocking on wood desk next to me. But he's displayed this level of command, poise, control that we haven't seen from him yet as he grows and evolves into being an even better pitcher. And he's been so incredibly solid that psychologically, I think it's picking the Giants up, and they're doing what they never seemed to do for Matt Cain.
Score just enough. Yeah.
There's an awesome article I'll link to that Rory Pop, I think. Sorry, Rory, if you're listening, did over on Bay City Ball about essentially how bad we have played for Matt Cain and how much better he deserves. And it's bad. Cain shouldn't just be a household term in San Francisco. It should be a household term across the entire United States. It's bad.
I think the problem is Cain, dude. I think he just needs to hit better. Guy hasn't hit. He's just hitting horribly these days. He needs to pick himself up. It's all your fault, Nat Cain. Sorry. I mean, Bumgarner's got a sweet swing. You could probably learn a little bit.
He had that nice double down the line.
That's right. He tied the game. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I put his win total probably somewhere around 16 max this year. I mean, he's obviously benefited from a lot of offense and good timing, but he's going to hit his patches where either he has a few bad starts or the Giants offense does what they do for Cain. It's going to be he gives up 1 or 2 runs and he leaves with a no decision or gets a tough
Giants
loss.
Offense.
Yeah, I mean, every starter goes through that stretch of 5 or 6 or 7 starts without a win. Getting to 20 is like hitting 50 home runs nowadays. It really is a rarity in all of Major League Baseball. So I mean, everything really has to go your way to even approach that number. So I think honestly, 18 is the new 20.
It kind of is, which is a little bit sad in a way.
It is,
but I mean, there was a time when you could get to 30, and it wasn't that. I mean, it was an amazing year, obviously, but. It wasn't like an unheard of thing to have happen. And now if you cross 20, it's like, wow, I don't know how that happened. But I'm gonna err on the side of Chad here. I'm going to say somewhere around 15, 16. Because, I think, he's gotten to 5 really, really quickly. But he's definitely going to have a month where, he's going to get caned, and he's going to end up maybe pitching well but not getting the victories. Or he'll just have a run of bad luck and maybe lose a couple. But I definitely think, he's going to have a stellar year because the guy looks solid all the way around. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this year pans out for this guy. And if he challenges for the Cy Young, if he gets Cy Young votes, that's going to be huge for a 22-year-old pitcher. You know, I mean, that's just fantastic. Let's we don't have a lot of time, and it's really my fault. I got to get out of here. I'm in my final charge. I'm limping to the finish line here of my college career. But I've got a whole bunch of stuff I got to.
No other way to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to throw one question at you guys if we have a second. Today in the 17 inning, I think, Red Sox and Orioles game. Did either of you guys hear about what was going on with that?
I just knew it was a long game, though. I don't know any details.
The game actually ended with Chris Davis, the Orioles first baseman, and Darnell McDonald, I want to say either a utility player or a second baseman for the Red Sox, ending up in a pitching duel.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that. Oh, that's fantastic.
It was pretty amazing. I'm going to have to go back and watch that last inning because Chris Davis actually struck out Adrian Gonzalez. He also struck out Jared Saltalamacchia on 3 pitches.
That is a thing of beauty.
Well,
I have to watch this.
Here. This is the first Major League game since 1925 in which both teams put a position player on the mound. That's pretty crazy.
Wow.
And you would think with the huge bullpens that we have nowadays that's not going to come up. Yeah, totally happened.
Well, here's the other thing.
And not even in a National League game where you have all the double switches.
Right? Chris Davis went 0 for 8 at the plate.
Yep.
And then got the win.
So he is a pitcher.
You know what, though? So did Adrian Gonzalez.
Wow. And then he gets the win. That's unbelievable.
A bad
Adrian
day.
Gonzalez went 0 for 8, too.
But is it a bad day if you also
get the win? He did not pitch
win?
himself out of the doghouse there.
Yeah, he's a 1-0 pitcher, though, dude. That's all you can say, man.
Yeah. He's 1-0 pitcher, and he closed out his own win. I mean, check that out.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
They staked him up, and they put Chris Davis back on the mound in the second inning. Like, you know what? That was pretty good. Why don't you just keep doing that? And he strikes out Adrian Gonzalez to get himself a win. I'm like, well,
wow.
that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
I'm gonna have to find some footage of this. There's been a lot of stuff so far that's happened this year that I've had to YouTube. This kid in Washington is just ridiculous.
Stole home today.
Bryce Harper. Did he really?
He got hit by Cole Hamels. Hamels actually admitted after the game he was saying welcome to the major leagues. So we'll see whether or not Hamels gets suspended for that. But Hamels hits him. He gets around to third base, and then he steals home on a pickoff third to first.
Dude, that's amazing.
It's like, so in the one-upmanship game, Bryce Harper is now winning.
Yeah. Well, I think he's one-upping just about everybody right now. I mean, the kid is just ridiculous. It's it's funny.
Got some talent.
He's got tools, but he's like a maniac on the field, you know. And like he said, I've read that his father grew up telling him that Pete Rose is the guy, idolized Pete Rose, and kind of instilled into his head that that's how you play baseball, the way Pete Rose played. And you could totally see it when you watch this guy.
He plays it like a linebacker.
Yeah.
I mean, just full on, balls out.
Like he'll just hit a ball where it's clear that it's going to be a single or a double or whatever, and he's running as fast, he's elbows flying and flapping around as he runs and rounds the bag, and it's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he stretched a single into a double today doing that very thing, and the fact is that Harper's got the speed to be able to play aggressively like that, and he really does. Like, you have to respect that. No matter what you think of him or what the media has painted him as, you got to just okay, well, hat tipped, you are playing really good baseball, sir.
Yeah, and you're super fun to watch. I don't care if apparently he's like kind of a jerk, but whatever. I don't give a crap. I really don't give a crap. I'm just, every day I kind of want to check out what the Bryce Harper highlight is of the day. Because, he makes me jealous that he's not on our team. That's, there's not a lot of players like that. There's, basically one on each team, maybe. But he's definitely one of those. I mean, man, I wish he was on my team.
He's something.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, though, for the Giants, which position player do you throw on the mound if it becomes an emergency and you have everyone available?
I say Buster Posey.
Buster Posey. He's
Posey
pitched before.
He closed in college.
Yeah.
He closed in college. I think Melky Cabrera's got a strong arm.
Yeah.
I don't know how his command is. And same for Nate Shearholtz, I feel like. But some of that is he spends a lot of time throwing to specific bases, so I don't know how his control would actually be from a mound.
Well, how about since we put Brett Pill up just about everywhere, we just go ahead and let him do it.
We just say, Brett Pill, you can play every position on the field, no problem. Why don't we just throw you
Yeah, so go ahead. Now you're a pitcher, dude. Good luck.
Emergency catcher. We're gonna Pedro Felizio.
All right, let's move on. Talk about our favorite guys. Maybe we should hate on somebody. I think I know who I'm going to hate on. All right, new favorite guy. Chad, start us off.
Yeah, well, I was really down on this guy at the beginning of the year and spring training, Angel Pagan. But even though it's been only 1 or 2 hits every game, he does have a 20-game hitting streak going. He's matched Pablo for the longest of the season. He's raised his average from around the Mendoza line to 267. So I got to tip my cap to him and say, this is fantastic. It's good to see this guy coming around. It's the hitter we kind of expected around the 260, 270 mark. So if he just kind of floats around here the rest of the year, I'm going to be satisfied as a Giants fan, but maybe there's more in store. Maybe he can be a 290 hitter this year if he has these little streaks like this. So he's my new favorite guy.
Hell yeah! I mean, I've been watching him do this 20-game hitting streak has been amazing. It's funny because you expect after a 20-game hitting streak that you're going to be batting, like 330 or something.
Well, exactly. But I mean, he started
so bad, and
he started so low, and most of the games he's not going on 3 for 5 or something like that. It's like 1 for 4, 1 for 3, 2 for 4. So it's consistency. It's good.
I think the only thing we're missing out of him right now is the ability to take the walk out of the leadoff spot, which hopefully he'll figure out how to develop into that. But I think when you're in the middle of a 20-game hitting streak, you're not, laying off pitches. You're probably being fairly aggressive and you're putting the ball into play. So that could have something to do with it. But he needs to think more like a leadoff hitter, I'd say, and then he'll really be a fantastic force at the top of the lineup because he's got pop. He's got pop, he's got speed, and you put those two together. Now you just need to take some walks. All right, my new favorite guy right now is Madison Bumgarner for obvious reasons. The kid is just every day he goes out, I'm expecting the Giants to win right now. And it's weird to say that there's only one guy on the Giants staff that makes me feel that way. But right now, he's the only guy on the Giants staff that makes me feel that way.
And it's sad because the reason that you don't feel like Matt Cain gives you a chance to win every time has nothing to do with Matt Cain.
Yeah, not because of Matt Cain at all, but just because I know what could happen when Matt Cain pitches, and that's the Giants' offense struggling. But he also, I love watching the guy hit. I love watching the guy just like his presence on the mound. Everybody talks about how nothing rattles this guy, but he's also just his style of pitching. The arm slot he comes from, the pitches that he has, he doesn't need to stay in 92, 93 his entire career. I think he'll be fine even when in 7-8 years he's throwing 88 because of the fact that he's got so much deception in his delivery. So I'm really looking for this kid to have a pretty strong major league career for a very long time, and hopefully it's for the Giants for a very long time, which We're looking like we're locking a lot of people up for a long time, and we gave him a contract too. So this is really cool, and I'm just loving watching this kid pitch. So that's my new favorite guy. Ben, what you got?
I'm actually going to go with Joaquin Arias.
Okay.
I think he's been a little bit of a revelation. I think Arias didn't have a history of hitting particularly well at too many levels, and I don't really think too many of us expected when he came up that he was going to be kind of this unexpectedly offensive juggernaut that he sort of has become. Arias is one of the few guys on the team who I feel like right now at least has a tendency to hit well in clutch situations, which I feel like that's something that we're lacking on this team. There are lots of jokes about runners in scoring position, how we can't hit there. Somebody made a gravestone that said RISP on it. Because we could not for the life of us hit with anybody in scoring position, and then Arias comes up and clubs RBI triples and things. And I feel like every time I turn around, I'm hearing about Arias doing something else really strong for the team from an offensive standpoint, besides the fact that he is a clear standout with the glove, and that he's about this close to robbing Crawford of a starting spot if Crawford doesn't pick it up from a defensive standpoint, because he's got a decent bat and he is picking the ball extremely well. So, I mean, I have to respect that. The guy was the Dominican League MVP last summer, so we have the Dominican League and Venezuelan League MVPs on our bench this year, which is hilarious.
Cool. Yeah.
Blanco and Arias just sit next to each other and they're like, "Hey, man, how's your MVP-ness doing?" It's, "Oh, yeah, I'm still an MVP."
I'm surprised he hasn't had any stolen bases yet, but other than that, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like, the kid's been getting a lot of playing time. You look at since late April or so, and he's started a lot of games, and stayed in all the way, and he's had a couple of fantastic ball games. So I think that's a great pick. Hopefully,
it's some absolute highlight plays too.
Yeah, hopefully he continues to be strong, and I mean that would add a ton of depth for us if this guy can stay up in the big leagues and do what he's been doing so far. So I mean, hitting 286 off the bench for us is, I mean, that's great.
That's practically like hitting 350 on any other team.
Exactly. So that's a great pick. Let's hate on somebody. Now, Chad, this sounds to me like a tough one for you to say, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and do it.
I liked your pick, actually. I wish I could switch now, but no.
it's too obvious. You got to go with yours.
Yeah. It's so obvious.
Well, I had to go with mine.
This is like the wrap after the game on KMBR where they're all sitting around going, all right, what odd angle can I take for the guy, groundskeeper who changed out second base in the 7th inning? Yeah, that guy. No, Travis.
Jerk.
Was that
Travis
your John
Ishikawa.
Miller, by the way? That sounded like you were doing John Miller there.
I was not trying to do John Miller
okay.
at all. No.
Well, you should work on that because it was actually pretty close.
That's pretty funny.
Buster Posey in the squat.
Yeah,
the squat.
Right,
Ishikawa,
so,
I love the guy. I think he was a good Giant. He was a great pinch hitter. It was good to see him back in the major leagues because the Giants, had released him, and he's been released by several other teams, fighting back through the minor leagues, and here he is back with the Brewers. And 2 outs, he's facing Casilla, and he had a fantastic at-bat. I mean, he was just fouling pitch after pitch after pitch. It's one of those at-bats you feel that momentum growing for the batter. They're seeing the pitch. You go to 2-2, 3-2 count. I mean, he's not going to risk walking you at that point and then forcing the runner over to second base in scoring position because they had a runner at first at the time. But of course, with 3 and 2 and the runner going, he eventually dumped one into what normally would have been caught as an out, but they were playing doubles defense. Ironically, it was a double that he hit because of the doubles defense. And because the runner was going, of course, he scored. So it was one of those things where, a little part of me inside was like, well, I'm happy he's successful, but not in this particular situation, please. Because he's still hitting 178. It's not like he's tearing it up for Milwaukee. So, go do that against another team, Travis.
Yeah.
Just not against the Giants.
I always liked Travis Ishikawa, and I always wished that he could have gotten a little more playing time, but he was like a weaker hitting JT Snow,
Yeah.
Because JT Snow was fantastic in the field, and showed flashes of being able to hit, but never quite could
above
put it
average,
together.
but not spectacular.
Yeah, just never could quite put together a full season of being a good hitter. So he's to me, Travis Ishikawa is a little bit weaker hitting, but solid defensively, and was always a great Giant, always did his part. And he had some fantastic at-bats. I mean, he was the guy who we don't win
right?
against the Braves if he doesn't, if he doesn't come up and have that fantastic at-bat against the Braves. So
take that incredibly clutch walk, which is not something you say often.
No, but
exactly what he did.
He had to foul pitches off for that one too. So
clutch walk while injured,
Yeah.
I mean, I always really liked Ishikawa. Just and of course I had the whole like, hey, we're both half Asian, let's go thing. But, so I mean, when I first found out about him, I just remember being like, they have a what?
Half Asians got to stick
playing
together.
in the where? No, man, it's you can't see it, but I'm throwing a fist in the air right now.
All right,
so
Ben,
I mean, I always want to see him do well. But as far as hating on somebody, I'm actually gonna flip Chad here, and I'm gonna hate on Angel Pagan.
Whoa. Flip me the bird? What?
Again, you also cannot see me, and you don't know what's on the end of that fist I just threw in the air. But I don't hate Angel Pagan. There's actually a lot I really like about the guy, but the fact remains that his 20-game hitting streak, he's not even hitting 300 of an on-base percentage during that time. The hitting streak has felt sometimes a little bit for show, almost like I remember. This isn't the first time I feel like we've seen this, where there's a hitting streak where somebody's getting a lot of hits, but none of them are in clutch situations, where it's kind of like, hey, I'm on base again, guys. And they're like, that's great. In the last inning when I was on base, you could have knocked me in. No, great timing. It sort of has contributed to the same like epidemic of we can't hit with people in scoring position. And so guys feel like they have to do it all themselves. Pagan has been able to get on base regularly during this stretch, but it's still not turning into anything. So on the one hand, I feel good for him. Like, congratulations, you're obviously batting well and seeing the ball well, but you're still not getting on base at a good clip. whether it's walks or anything else. You're not. And it's stuff like that mixed with what we're seeing from him in center field. You know, I'm not convinced yet. Okay. I'm getting there. I'm definitely absolutely more impressed with him than I was at the beginning of the season, when I think we all kind of knew this was low even for Angel Pagan. But I'm expecting more from him. I'm giving him the disappointed Asian dad look.
Sure, that's fair.
Why you no hit more?
It's hard to hate.
I'm glad you're the one that did that impression.
That was why I refuse to let either of you take the heat for that. I will happily do the angry accented impression, because there are people in my family who do that. With
a 20-game hitting streak, but you actually somehow found a way to make it sound cogent and somewhat feasible. So
that's why he's here.
Good job. Yeah. All right, I want to hate on Nyjer Morgan.
Cracking knuckles.
I'm going to hate on Nyjer Morgan because he's a douchebag.
We all kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah, but he's a douchebag. He's hitting $180 and he's still showboating when he makes a freaking catch. He didn't even have to dive for. He's got no extra base hits this year. He's hitting 180 with a slugging percentage of 180. So, buddy, you need to shut your goddamn face, because I'm sick of seeing it. And no more flexing at the fans after you make a catch. And then, you took a walk and then you scored, but that whatever. That's like all you did this entire series. And then you made a catch, and then you like flex like it was the most amazing thing that's ever happened. And
it's like, congratulations, not swinging on like 4 pitches that Matt Cain couldn't figure out at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it's like that's just he's such an idiot, and I can't stand this kid. But anyway,
he's a local kid, but no amount of wearing a Sharks jersey is going to save you, Morgan.
I know. We're
sorry.
He's a black kid, local from Hunters Point, likes hockey. Like, there's so many reasons why I would like to enjoy this guy, but he cannot.
Why I'm hoping that I'll like him after he retires, maybe.
Yeah, I don't.
But
think
I probably won't notice.
I don't think it's gonna happen. All right, before we get out of here, I gotta take off like imminently here. So let's talk about why we're gonna win it all. I'll just start us off here. I didn't write one down, but because we are not playing good baseball right now, and nothing has really come together, and we're 4 games out. It could be a lot worse. And I feel like we are going to find that moment where it all clicks for everybody, and it hasn't happened, and we're not out of it. So, unfortunately, last year I feel like we said this all the way until about a month left in the season, but I don't believe that's going to be the case again.
But we still weren't out of it until about a month left in the season,
yeah,
so
exactly.
I guess we were doing something.
Yeah. So, Chad, what do you got?
All right, I'm going to be the voice of reason here. So they are 14-14 right now, even 500 and 4 games out. What do you think their record was after 28 games last year? Throw it out.
I think we had a winning record last year, didn't we?
After 28 games, we were 13-15.
Oh, damn. Okay.
We were actually 1 game worse than we are right now, and we were 5 games behind the Colorado Rockies.
Okay.
And we pretty much had the same amount of not Panda in the lineup anyway.
Exactly. And where were the Rockies at the end of the year? Thirdly, the World Championship year, 2010.
You know what's sad is I blocked that out, other than the fact that they weren't the D-backs. So,
so in 2010 we were 17-11 at this point, which obviously is much better, but only 3 games better. I mean, really, when you break it down, so it's not out of the world of reason. So, you know what? We're right where we were last year, and last year we had I won't say made a run of it, but we were in it until maybe the last few weeks of the season. Still finished with 86 wins, so maybe at some point it's going to come together. Maybe we can get everybody's hamate bones and knees and elbows healthy, and no more anxiety disorders.
Yeah,
and then
anxiety.
we can get this ship in the right course.
All right, Ben, what do you think?
I'm gonna say because we.
Yep.
I'm gonna.
All right, everybody, go to torturecast.com if you want to follow us. You can follow us on Twitter. We are at TortureCast. You can also follow us individually at ChadK21, at Fried Duck, that's Ben, and at Willie Dills, that's me. I want to thank everybody for listening to the TortureCast. I want to thank Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song at the beginning of our intro. And I also want to send everybody over to our Facebook page. Go over there and like us, and you can keep up with us there as well. Again, this was episode 29, the Hector Sanchez episode. Thank you, Hector, for making us win today. That was fantastic. Well done. And we'll see you guys next time for episode 30. This has been the TortureCast, podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Boom! A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.